Hello again. My name is Jack Cooper. In episode 4, I was the victim of felony extortion for the amount of nearly $100,000, inspired by former Congressman Richard Pomble, teamed with Contra Costa County and Vila construction. I will begin with the time fighting a small claims case. Pomble had a corrupt Superior Court judge named in my book when he made a bad call in my case, and how he showed me a cynical grin while doing so. I was sure then Richard Pomble manipulated this Superior Court judge. One of the darkest days that I remember in our justice system. 2 weeks later, I visited that same courtroom while he was presiding. Immediately he noticed me sitting in the back, quietly near the door. I stayed there for about 5 minutes before the bailiff asked me, "Why am I there?" I answered, "Watching." During that time, at first the judge's voice was loud, very responsive, but as time went on, his voice started to get softer and lower. I could not hear much of him. I thought he was about to get a heart attack or stroke. I left the courtroom. I didn't want anything to happen to him. Let not be me to bring harm to anyone else. He would answer to justice. He claims to uphold all his career. The day Richard Pomble had lost his election, that Superior Court judge and several people who helped Pomble suddenly and quickly retired. They lost their congressional protection. On July 12, 2014, I was followed by one of Richard Pomble's associates to the Food for Less parking lot, where he was parked about 2 spots away from my car. I decided to create a subterfuge. I pretended to answer my phone and talk of what he fears the most about what's going on to Richard Pomble. At the same time, I took some photos of him and his late model Camaro. Pomble's response had happened during that night. My trailer for my machine connected to the hitch of my truck. The next day, I loaded the machine and left for Contra Costa County Juvenile Hall. When I got off the freeway, the trailer was loose from the hitch. Only the safety chains were keeping the trailer from tumbling down the freeway about 60 miles per hour. 1,500 pounds would have killed several people. The nut on the trailer that kept the trailer ball in place was loosened and vibrated off. Intentional accident is Richard Pomble's pattern. This is how Richard Pomble answers with violence. Do you know this person? I seen this man follow me before and after several times. One day I pulled over to let him drive by and followed him. He knew that I recognized him. He drove into a garage, but not sure it's his. He got out of his car and was peeking around the garage door to see if I will approach or get violent. In Contra Costa County Public Works Department, as a subcontractor with Vila Construction, installing cameras for the renovation of the Juvenile Detention Center across the street from Department of Public Works. During the course of this project, the prime contractor started violations of extortion. About 2 weeks into the contract, Mike Vila proposed a new contract for me to sign. He threatened not to pay my company if not signed. In fact, he actually put that in writing. And of course, he also said, "Don't sign, don't get paid." That was extortion number 1. Another new contract extortion scam. Mike Vila, who told me that I had to purchase some additional equipment that cost $14,634. Equipment that was not written in my contract. The equipment was the responsibility of Vila Construction. Vila kept pushing this issue and brought into the attention of the County Public Works Department. To appease this issue, I decided to purchase that equipment and to sue Vila Construction in court later. 3 weeks later, Public Works sent me a letter regarding this issue, with the receipt of equipment sent in as requested and presented in that meeting to the Department of Public Works. In this video, I had completed the burden of proof with a hidden video camera, knowing Richard Pomble was involved. Again, that is his motive. The salesman for that equipment was present across the table. Vila Construction still had proposed to have my company dismissed for not purchasing that equipment. I had made it clear I had purchased the equipment 3 weeks prior. Let it be known, for over 2.5 months, Vila Construction had never paid my company one monthly payment or 1 penny. That was illegal under the Department of Industrial Relations and against contractor's agreement. I filed a stop payment with the County Department of Public Works. Soon after that meeting, Mr. Mike Vila emailed me to inform me that I can no longer enter the job site unless I remit the stop payment that I recently filed. Extortion 3. The evidence on video, signed documents, clearly proves extortion by Vila Construction. Department of Public Works, who implicates the County Board of Supervisors shortly after a cover-up with Mark Peterson, District Attorney, along with Vila Construction, County Board of Supervisors, Department of Public Works, District Attorney Mark Peterson, and conspiracy by Richard Pomble extorted nearly $100,000 from me and my company. A few months later, I filed a complaint of extortion at $100,000. By doing so, sooner or later, Richard Pomble's name was going to be mentioned by the Department of Public Works. Face it, nobody wants to spend 20 years in prison because of Richard Pomble's revenge. The Corruption and District Attorney's Office, my complaint and report all evidence twice with follow-ups on phone calls. The second time, I insisted on charges of extortion. 2 days later, we received 2 charges of eavesdropping because of my hidden cameras they tried to squash. This meeting was a public meeting. Every lawyer tells me that I was in the right to record that meeting. I will not be bullied into false charges. I responded to the charges not guilty. From the beginning, they tried to coerce me in community service and probation for 6 months. My college education majored in criminal law. What they really tried to do was take away my civil rights, invade my home, property, to confiscate my cameras, computers, files pertaining any evidence against Richard Pomble that I had been accumulating for 23 years. But I'm not guilty and never was. I have my ethics and I will hold and stand by them. The court scene went on for 2.5 years. Keep me going to court every time they feel like it. Most people would give in and sign guilty. At one point, I received a public defender in the first meeting from the start. He was yelling and pushing me for the guilty and sign for charges and take the probation. I thought he was playing a devil's advocate. He did not last long. District Attorney strong-armed him from the beginning because he knew his contract would be in jeopardy. A new lawyer. At first, she seemed to be very excited to fight and clear my case. However, they got to her. At one time, she went into the judge's chamber, came out crying. Her eyes were flushed, and she was mumbling fast and incoherent. The lack of emotions transcends through such behavior in the presence of a Superior Court judge, allowing a high level and aggressive intimidation towards a female defense lawyer. From that point on, she continued heavily to endorse the prosecutor's offer. We agreed and demanded to file a 45-day motion to have the trial by jury or drop the charges altogether. The district attorney knew I was looking forward in that trial because I was clearly going to prove 3 counts of extortion before it's over. The 45 days were up, having the hearing by jury or drop the charges. My lawyer was still insisting that I sign those charges to the last minute, even when she knew they were losing and still wanted me to take this last time offer. A 1-day sitting in the courtroom to experience the procedures of court and 6 months of probation. They had her trembling, scared as though she would suffer if I don't sign those fake charges. I chose to expose this to the world because of the emotional terrorized my family for 23 years. Without the local police, FBI, county district attorney refused to stop Richard Pomble and his vindictive violence towards my family without the rights of protection from the local police department.